What a great way to start the year, by making people mad at the tier list.
I am mostly curious about which one of us is gonna make people more mad.
I think it's gonna be Pizza Daffy at the section with Secret of the Mimic, but we will get there. So, this tier list is not just about games, it's about FNAF media in general. So we have all mainline games and spin-offs, like FNAF World, FNAF 5 Labs, Into the Pit, Furious Rage, Freddy In Space, etc. Then we are gonna have Tales, but Tales is kinda mixed bag, so some stories from it are separated. Then by the end of it, it's interactive novels, except Return Into the Pit because I value my sanity. And by the end of it, we will talk about the movies.
I do think it's worthwhile to point out that I haven't read the books, so
Yeah, so it's gonna be my section.
this does impact our rating of other games. First and foremost of the Secret of the Mimic, because your point of contention regarding the game is how it allegedly butchers the lore, and
Allegedly. You are
okay,
the,
we'll
you are
get
the, you are
there when
deleted.
we'll...
Alright, let's get to it. I did like two tiers, two A tiers, A plus and A minus. It's kinda hard to rate some games because like they are kinda A, but not enough A. So let's start with FNAF 1. You played it, I played it. You go first. I will bully you.
I would say that it's a good one because, first of all, I think it's pretty well balanced as far as the gameplay and its length are concerned. And furthermore, of course, it's the original, so, you know, it's the trendsetter. I would say, I don't know, I would either give it S rank simply because, you know, it's the one that started everything, or A+.
Well, I kinda agree, but I have some counter arguments because, well, it's okay. I will start with positives. It's good at building tension, at least for the most part. And well, the gameplay is kind of like, since it's the original, so every game after that will be bouncing from that. But at the same time, it kinda aged bad. Today playing it is pretty boring. At the latter nights, it's kinda comes to just, you don't really need to use most of the cameras. The gameplay loop becomes repetitive pretty fast. But I think I'm gonna place it at A minus, since you give it A plus.
Yeah, okay,
So it's a solid one, but today I kinda don't want to play it.
I mean, to be fair, all of the original FNAF games are technically quite simple, so I wouldn't exactly consider them, you know, masterpieces in terms of replayability.
Well, yeah, but I guess the cultural impact is an important point, and well, the designs are very iconic. I mean, the designs of animatronics and the design of Pizzeria. And well,
Yeah.
when people talk, like, for example, a lot of people talk how Secret of the Mimic doesn't have that grotesque nature, or like Security Breach doesn't have that grotesque nature. Most of the times they compare it to FNAF 1.
You mean in terms of how it's run down and kind of gross?
Yeah, kinda how dirty it looks, how dark it looks, how much tension by just looking at it. So, but it's still A.
Yeah, I suppose I can see it. The originals are a bit grittier than
Yes.
the later installments.
And I mean, just visuals, not the story or anything, because FNAF 1 doesn't really have a story. Well, there's no mini games, no cutscenes, just the newspapers. So now FNAF 2, and this is where things got kinda messy, because I think Scott made it in like several months. He kinda learned wrong lessons from FNAF 1, I think, because he doubled down on characters, but he forgot about everything else. So FNAF 2 has like 12 animatronics or 11, so it's kinda chaotic at later nights, and as I told you in FNAF 1 that you can basically just manage 2 cameras, here you need only 1 camera, and that's the music box camera, so the puppet wouldn't kill you. Other cameras basically useless, you don't need them at all, well, unless you want like look at renders, but you don't have time for that. The only thing that carries FNAF 2 basically character designs like Mangle, Toy Chica, Withered Bonnie without face.
Honestly, I pretty much agree. I also remember absolutely not liking the office in which the action takes place. And in general, to me, the game felt almost like not much of a sequel, but more like a side grade. Yeah, more of the same, and not every point was even on the same level, at least to me personally. So I can see you like hovering over the C tier, and I kind of agree with that.
I think Kappa.txt can summarize it for us.
Listen, I would the chicken as well, but I am not going to rate my game on a single character.
Oh, the only point that other than characters is that this game had, well, it started the mini games and the story basically. But still it's kinda not enough. B is, well, since it's kinda downgrade or side grade, I guess B, it's gonna be honest.
I guess, yeah, I suppose.
But the only reason I'm giving it a B because it has Toy Chica and because it's kind of funny to look at videos about FNAF 2.
So as far as NOC rating is concerned, B stands for bad bitches.
Yes, exactly. Okay, next, FNAF 3. Oh, that one was fun. Because I wasn't fond of FNAF 3 simply because it's fucking green. But as for gameplay, I guess it's definitely better than FNAF 2, and I would say better than FNAF 1 sometimes.
I would say that I haven't played it myself. I watched Noct streamer over here streaming it, and if I'm being entirely honest, to me it just felt like a snooze fest. Like, yeah, for starters, it's very green and kind of yellowish, which makes me think of Fallout 3 or something like that. And there is only one animatronic who isn't really an animatronic at all. It's certainly very interesting in terms of story and implications for the franchise, but at least to me it actually felt like even more of a downgrade compared to FNAF 2. So personally I would put it in C tier.
Well, I don't think it was that bad because, well, I said it's in the video, but yeah, the first 2 nights were really a snooze fest. Well, the first night doesn't have basically anything, so you're kinda just waiting. And the mechanic of rebooting is pretty bad, well, on its own, but sometimes at the latter nights it's very satisfying. Like, there can be combinations where you kinda do this, do that, find him on the camera, block the vent, reboot, repeat. It's kinda satisfying. So I would say that it's just the same tier as FNAF 2. I guess main point would be the story and the design of Afton.
I don't have a lot to say about FNAF 3 anymore, so if you're done, then I guess we should move on.
Oh, just say fuck FNAF 3 and be done with it.
I mean, it's not terrible or anything, I just wasn't very impressed.
Say it.
That's too strong of a word. I'd say fast fuck FNAF 3.
Okay, yeah, that works. Oh, FNAF 4. That's probably my favorite out of original games. It's the scariest one. Simple as that. And the designs of nightmares are cool, and like, it's the first game where you move. Well, kinda. And Scott, I guess, learned the lesson how to build tension, so he leaned in. Well, it's a sound-based game, basically. Can't get scarier than that.
Yeah, I agree. I would argue that FNAF 4, as far as the original, FNAF games are concerned, is the first, actual update from FNAF 1.
Yeah.
In terms of general quality and actually being quite tense. That is something I appreciate, because I do believe I voiced this opinion that first three games have this issue where they simultaneously too slow and too fast. Like generally speaking, they are quite fast-paced, which
Kills tension.
doesn't it doesn't leave you with a lot of time to actually get properly immersed into the world. When nothing happens for a prolonged period of time, it actually gets kind of boring. By comparison, I would argue that FNAF 4 is a genuine improvement on the formula.
Yeah, and
in most ways.
well, all original FNAF games are fast-paced when it comes to Fifth Night or Fourth Night. But FNAF 4, because it's sound-based, again, it's still tense. So I guess it's A+, at minimum.
I would even consider putting it in S tier, because I feel like as far as the original formula for FNAF games is concerned, this one was actually kind of peak.
Okay, I know how to put it in S tier. This game gave us 2 memes with Markiplier. So it's S. So I don't know what was first, FNAF World or Sister Location, but I will go with FNAF World and I will say it's an easy S. Maybe lower than FNAF 4, but still S. Even if Scott kinda fumbled it, and it has a rough design, which is why some mods are trying to fix it right now. But it was still peak. Like, probably the only FNAF game, well, not the only Security Breach exists, but okay, it's the second best FNAF game for me, where I was stuck with the game for a good amount of time. And it's also for free.
Personally, I honestly don't see the appeal. Yeah, I mean, you showed it to me, and it does look like a pretty interesting time, but I don't know, actually, like, it comes from the period of the series where, to me, honestly, it feels like Scott just had a lot of free time and had no idea what to do with it.
Well, yeah,
So
I think he said somewhere that he believed that he can't fail. FNAF World had a mixed reception when it came out, and Scott had some depression about it. But recently FNAF World is kinda on a resurgence of popularity.
Well, I suppose I am too much of a normie to, truly appreciate it for the masterpiece that it is. So to me personally, it falls into the meme tier where, I don't necessarily dislike it, I just don't get it.
Not your cup of tea.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, now that's your favorite, I'm sure of it. Sister Location.
I mean, electrocuting Ballora is pretty fun, actually.
What the
But I will say that, my initial impressions were actually kind of, you remember, I
Yeah.
wasn't exactly impressed, but after actually, checking out the rest of the game, I do actually think it's a pretty interesting game. Like, it's certainly quite different from the, original ones, but it does have a pretty unique style to it, and the story is quite interesting. Plus, it has some pretty good, at least in my opinion, voice acting. So
Yeah, it's the first FNAF game where Scott tried to make a proper story and a proper voice acting. That deserves upload 5 games into the series. Okay, I'm joking, but still.
So yeah, I guess if I had to rate it, I would say that it's either A or B tier. I'm not sure about the gameplay side of things, but
yeah, gameplay is horrifying most of the time.
Yeah, but story-wise and as far as the atmosphere is concerned, I would say this one is actually pretty good. So I guess I would put it in B tier. Solid B tier, like B plus. Or actually, yes, we have A minus, B plus. Yeah, I'd say it's A minus.
Yeah, I would say also A minus. The gameplay is boring, but Scott tried a lot of different things, one time you are shocking Ballora, then you are fixing brakes, then you are fixing screws, then you are doing this. It's always a different kind of boring. So at least it's not always the same. And the designs of Funtime animatronics, well, kinda fire. Except for Circus Baby, I kinda don't like your design, but the rest, like Ballora, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, they are cool. So I guess it's A-. Wait, before FNAF 1 or after FNAF 1?
I would argue that FNAF 1 deserves more credit because, I mean, as we already said, it's the original. It's where it all started.
Yeah, and oh yeah, speaking of that, Sister Location probably... No, actually FNAF World was the first game where people started to say things like FNAF should have ended, because the lore kinda started deviate in strange directions, but Sister Location was a very strong diversion, and not everyone liked it, both from the design point and from the lore point. But looking back at it, it's still a solid one. Can you give me footage of Lolbit a little bit?
Yeah, I can do that. There she is. Oh! Oh! My game just crashed.
Oh.
Love the crash my game.
Well, I guess Lolbit won.
I've never had that happen, what?
So, FNAF 6?
Who's gonna go first?
You go.
This one was interesting, I suppose. I feel like, to be completely honest, just about the only thing I actually remember from it is the ending monologue from...
That's what everyone remembers. FNAF should have ended at FNAF 6, and they kinda just point at Henry's speech in the end, and they kinda skip the office part, skip everything, just the speech itself.
Yeah, I mean, the ending itself is pretty good in my opinion. It would, and you know, if it was the end of the series in general, I think it would be, you know, a pretty good way to, a pretty good send-off. But the game itself, I don't understand it. It's like Scott just looked at all the lessons he learned from the previous games and decided to apply none of them.
The office gameplay is like, what the fuck?
Oh, I actually have no idea how to rank this one, because I kinda really like one element, but the rest of the game I honestly just purged from my memory. It just didn't grab me at all.
I can give you two more elements to like. Some of the designs are cool, like Scrub Baby with her chainsaw or whatever it is, and like not often, well, who else was there? Wait, I actually forgot. Never mind. Only Scrub Baby is cool in there. Well, Rockstar animatronics kinda cool, but you can't properly see them because they are not really enemies in here. The managing of Pizzeria, like the Tycoon section where you buy stuff, play mini games, and like avoid lawsuits and all this thing, I think it's a pretty fun idea.
Still, to be honest, I would put this one into C tier, because if not even, I don't know, man, I'm almost inclined to put it into D, because
just for
yeah, I mean, it's a case when the game itself is just, I don't know. I
remember it just for the ending.
Yeah, that's not very good actually.
Yeah, I guess C. Well, D it's too low. I think C is... I would say it's C+, but we don't have C+ here. Well, the main 6, not counting FNAF World, because it's kinda just my thing in here, but the main 6 are done. I guess it's time for UCN, and it's painful, because the idea is great. but well, I like the idea for the story that Afton is in hell, he's like being tortured, well, he deserves it, but the execution, I'm not a fan of execution because the game feels pointless. I mean, there's no story going on except for the ending. I don't remember how do you even get it. The execution of jump scares is very poor because Scott put like 50 animatronics into one game and the engine is basically breaking, so he had to compress the jump scares and they look like shit. And like the game plays either boring or very chaotic. Well, you saw it for yourself. The game is too arcadey.
To me, it's one of those games that I just don't understand. Like, it feels like some kind of a spin-off more than anything.
Not a spin-off, it's more like epilogue.
I don't know, to me it just feels like it was created for the sake of creating something.
Scott tried to make a conclusion, but it's kind of a messy conclusion. I like the idea of conclusion and I like the idea of creating your own challenge with different animatronics from all the games, but the execution was bad and I don't like it. I'm not touching it again. That's the first game in this
Yeah, I don't blame you at all.
And I guess we are done with the games that were made by Scott himself. I guess it looks balanced, like only one in this tier, I guess. Of course it would be better if FNAF 6 wasn't the worst one out of 6, but well, we are in the modern FNAF territory. So I haven't played Help Wanted, I only watched it on YouTube, but you played it. You go.
Remind me again, was it initially a PC release or... Because I do know it's a VR game, right?
Yes, it's a VR game.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I don't have a VR, so I played it, the usual way. And wasn't very pleasant to play this way. It would randomly, first of all, accurately pressing buttons was quite difficult, and it would randomly ignore my inputs, and it had other issues. So I think I dropped it at some point because it just didn't feel good to play.
Yeah, I remember you said
without
it's
VR.
impossible basically without VR. Some levels are just like PC port is so bad that
Yeah, I don't know if you can call it a PC port per se, because my understanding it's already on PC. It's just meant for originally for only for the VR. I guess it's not really impossible, but it definitely was a lot more difficult than it really should have been.
let's say painful.
So yeah, I'd say that the game itself is pretty good, but only if you have the VR. I mean, probably if you have VR. But considering it was originally made for it, I presume it was good.
So I guess it's A+, like I saw it, it was very good.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we also have DLCs in here. So Dreadbear DLC, I guess in the same tier, maybe even better.
Have I played it actually? I don't remember.
Да.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Not much to say because it's pretty small, but it had some pretty cool moments in there. You probably don't know what it is, the next game.
Yeah, I was actually looking at this one and I don't think I recognized.
It's Freddy In Space 2. You might ask, why 2? Because Freddy In Space 1 was in FNAF World as a mini-game. And Freddy In Space 2, it's a sequel to this game in FNAF World. It's basically a 2D thing, I don't know how to say it, platformer, not platformer, like, I don't know, can you Google it fast?
Hold up.
Not much to say about it, honestly. It's kind of mediocre.
Yeah, it looks like a mobile game, if I'm being honest. Young people probably hear about a mobile game and think Genshin Impact or whatever. No, I'm talking about mobile games from like the olden times, back in when cave people didn't really have internet on their phones, and it was just like a bunch of pixels and some,
Yeah,
shitty
actually,
game
it gave
on
me some PSP era nostalgia.
I don't know what to say. I haven't seen this one before, and again, like my issue with games, with a lot of the games from this period, well, not a lot, now that I think about it, but a couple, is that they just they stand out so much they don't even feel like FNAF games. Like I said this before about FNAF World, and again, this feels so out of the left field that I don't know what to say about it.
I'm giving it a C because this game has the first ever appearance of Roxanne Wolf. It's not that it is a bad game, I'm just not vibing with the genre. Okay, now this is awkward. This is FNAF Special Delivery. Speaking of mobile games, I don't know how to rate it because it doesn't exist anymore, and it was microtransaction hell, but at the same time, from what I heard and from what I saw, it had okay gameplay and it had a lot of cool skins.
Obviously, the first thing I find is Markiplier playing this game. Yeah, it does look pretty interesting. It kind of reminds me of that game, what was it again? Pokemon something. Probably I haven't played this one, I just,
The main problem this game had is microtransactions. It had a lot of cool skins behind a paywall, basically. But it also had some lore bits about Glitchtrap that were kinda interesting. I'm not sure if they're still canon, because, well, the game is kinda dead, together with the studio. Maybe I should create a separate tier for it. Like, at a row. Cool skins. Yeah, sounds about right. Well, Furious Rage. I think it was fun, and I think the idea was fun, but because Scott made it basically as an excuse for security breach delays, it was very bare bones, which is why I wish he came back to this game and made it a full game. Make the gameplay deeper, make more levels, more enemies, that stuff, maybe even co-op. I think in co-op this game would be amazing.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting to see it. As a tie-in game, I'd say it was alright, like just something to keep yourself busy for,
for one
half
evening,
an hour.
basically.
Yeah. I think it would actually do well as a, like if it was in Security Breach, I feel.
Like an arcade game?
Yes.
Yeah, that could also work. Basically, it feels like some demo for a full game, but it's not actually a demo. I think A- behind these two.
Might be a little high, in my opinion. I will put
Well,
B,
I
but-
had pretty a lot of fun, so if you want B, I want A, well, let's go A-.
Okay.
Oh, what do I see here? That's my jam, and not only mine.
So I heard we're talking about security breach, are we? Where do I even start with this? I guess it would be the Pizzaplex, which itself is just such a cool thing. To this day, I genuinely think this is my favorite location in all of fiction. Like, every time I replay Security Breach, I just spend most of the time looking around the place. It never gets old, finding different ways to go around the place, to go from one side of the area all the way to the other, choosing new paths to get around each of the animatronics. No matter how long I spend replaying this game, I will always try something different because this game lets me. The place is so big that I can just do basically whatever I want here. Not only that, but the animatronics roaming around each one of the different rooms just makes it so much fun. You can constantly hear them wherever you are, and now knowing what their backstory is with the storyteller and all, it just makes it super cool, yet you feel bad for these characters at the same time. Like, god, I love the Glamrock animatronics. They are so good. They're best animatronics in FNAF. Best. The way the game lets you go wherever you want, yet at the same time makes you go certain paths to get things done is beautiful. I love Security Breach. I love the Pizzaplex. I could go on about this stuff, but I was only given a certain amount of time to talk about it, so I have to go back into the shadows now. Goodbye.
I asked him to send a message between 30 and 60 seconds long, and he sent 1 minute and 24 seconds. Absolutely no respect for the rules. So, I think me and Kappa T could go on hours and hours talking about Security Breach, but now it's your turn.
I agree with most of the stuff that has already been said. It's definitely very strong in terms of world building and general presentation. It's I never found it scary, but I do think it can be somewhat, how do I put this, I guess creepy, almost with the very large, almost liminal spaces. I will say that this game is a case study of wasted potential. Because, well, we all know why. To this day, the game is still broken and unfinished, and it never will be finished.
Well, some parts are broken, well, not even broken, I would say it's just bad design, like Mother size, what the fuck is this? Or I think the burn trap battle was also broken and still broken. So
Yeah,
there are
it's,
just some
some of those-
frustrating parts.
Yeah, it's one of those games where, like some parts of it are actually very impressive. The Pizzaplex is certainly a very memorable location. But then there is the combination of poor technical state and just, even if it was very polished, it would still be a very mixed bag because the core game is just, I don't know, it's just questionable in many places. I don't know where I would put it. I do like it actually.
Actually,
yes. And,
this game is the reason why we have A+ and A-, because I think A+ is too much, but A- is somewhat fitting.
I suppose, yeah, but you also need to remember that if you don't know what you need to do, where you need to go, then that game can be an absolute chore to play because you just get lost in this huge Pizzaplex and no idea what to do, where to go. Plus some just frustrating mechanics like the security bots, which are littered absolutely everywhere, which spot you and teleport animatronics behind you.
Some sort of huge patch wouldn't hurt here.
The thing is, I'm not sure if you can really fix these issues because
Well, you can
it's not just
disable the teleports and let's say lower the amount of staff bots and let's say make Mother size bearable and fix the battle with burn trap and like these things.
and make a new game.
Well, they did make a new game and we will get there.
Even though it's nowhere near as broken as it used to be, on release, I still feel like giving it an A is too generous because I think, it's a case of, the good stuff which, appeals to you, it blinds you to a lot of the issues which crop up only when you play.
Well, I played it
Because
very recently 2 times and even having these like issues, they didn't bother me. Like Kapati said, there's a lot of stuff to do and to look at.
I think you would make a fine Tarkov player. Kind
What
of
the
have
fuck?
that, good
That was-
mentality for it.
That was rude.
The atmosphere, the style of it are legitimately amazing and very memorable. There are so many core issues which you just cannot fix without actually just straight up remaking the whole game that giving it A tier to me at least feels too generous.
First, I just generally like games, well, I don't care about gameplay, like most of the time, with the exception of FNAF World. So, let's say I can play like Skyrim even if it's a broken game, and it was very like simplified compared to previous Elder Scrolls, and most people, well, a lot of people don't like Skyrim because of that. But the world was built so good that I just don't mind the gameplay at all, and Security Breach is basically the same. And second,
I would also argue that.
yeah, давай.
I would also make a separate point about the fact that the story of the game doesn't actually make sense. The game itself doesn't know what it's trying to achieve. You know, you made a separate video about our protagonist, and I mean, of course, he is the best character ever. You know, our savior, Gregory. But objectively speaking, his motivations and actually, you know, a lot of the story elements don't actually make a whole lot of sense and never really get explained. We do know that there's been a communication issue between Scott, who was busy with the movie and all that. But we are talking about the game itself, and in my opinion, this also impacts it in a negative way.
It impacts the game itself, but fortunately, unlike Secret of the Mimic, this game is at the start point of the story. So everything, like details and every other game, were built after Security Breach, so these games and the stories were basically dancing around the issues Security Breach had. It's not like Security Breach came out and broke everything that was already built. So it's kinda issue for the game, but not the issue for the whole story.
Controversial opinion, but I feel like Security Breach would be better off not as a direct continuation, because it is tied to older games, but as more of some kind of reboot or a separate series, because in my opinion there's too much of a shift in terms of genre. Like it went from this kind of urban fantasy, almost found footage, like gritty horror game, to some kind of cyberpunk type deal, something, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a pretty drastic shift.
To me, at least, it doesn't actually feel like it takes place in the same universe as the previous FNAF games.
Well, I can see that point, but fortunately Security Breach didn't affect the stuff that was before, so many people perceived it as not a reboot, a continuation of the story, but if you don't want to engage with it, you don't need to engage with it. Like, yeah, you engage with the first 7 games and pretend that Security Breach doesn't exist, because it doesn't retcon anything, so kinda nothing lost.
I will say that I find Gregory to be an absolute meme of a protagonist who, instead of being, I don't know, like constantly scared and cornered, just goes out and does some Home Alone type shit against these fucking robots.
I'm still placing it in A, in high A, no, A minus I mean, but because it's my tier list. You are just a voice in my head. Well, now it's time for pick. Ruin was a very solid DLC, even if the gameplay was kinda like simple, but the story continues, the story is better, the game is linear, the environment still amazing, the characters, everyone feels bad for them even more than usual. Well, it's pretty short, it's free, probably the most important part. For some people it kinda the reason to get Security Breach, because the DLC is kind of a redeeming point. So I think it's pretty high. Even if the gameplay doesn't give you a reason to replay it, but replayability is not a very strong selling point. Seriously, replayability is overrated.
Yeah, I will agree with everything, well, most of points. The game is quite simple in terms of gameplay. Well, I mean, to be fair, most of horror games these days are, basically just a variation of Outlast or Amnesia formula. Not many studios, venture outside of it. And in my opinion, like what made this one so good is that I think the developers realized that Security Breach suffered from
direction,
feature creep and lack of direction. Yes. And I think they just decided to make a short, focused game, and it really does feel like a separate game in my opinion. It has
that's why a lot of people, despite it being DLC, everyone treats Ruin as a different game.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty distinct from Security Breach, and all around it's indeed a huge improvement. So I would give it A+.
I'm giving it S+, well, not S+, just S, simply because it's a very strong story, even if Cassie and Roxy kinda lack screen time together, but with the context of one of the novels and with the context of what happened to Glamrox and etc, and with the context of Help Wanted 2, I think it's gonna be lower S.
Well, okay.
Now Help Wanted 2.
Have you played this one, or was it only me again?
Yeah, mobile. But we both played in flat mode.
I would argue that this one is, at least as far as playing it without the VR, is a huge improvement over Help Wanted. Actually, from what I remember, in general, it was, to me, it felt a lot better, and it felt more, like the devs had a bit more experience, probably a bit more budget, and all around, it was a pretty good time, in my opinion. And unlike Help Wanted 1, playing this one on flat screen was not a torture. It was actually quite pleasant. The game ran well, felt well. And yeah, I would say this one is pretty good. It's A+ material.
I'm gonna bring some negative points to the table, but I agree that it's A+, but I still gonna talk about it. The story was lackluster. It's still a theory that we are Cassie's father, and well, it's a solid theory, we are probably Cassie's father, but the story is so vague that we still don't know for sure. Voiceless protagonist for some reason. Even Vanessa had a voice in DLC for Help Wanted 1. And Vanny was wasted again, like in Security Breach. Vanny was supposed to be like a guide in this game, but for some reason they cut her from the game almost entirely. But the ending and the reveal, like when you first get the mask of your face, is a very cool reveal that you actually were in illusion all this time. And the second cool reveal is that via the staff bot who gave Cassie the mask was also a very solid ending. So yeah, I think even with small drawbacks, it's still A+ and better than Help Wanted 1.
I don't remember if I touched on this point specifically, but Help Wanted 1 also ran like absolute shit for some reason. Like it lagged, I think it crashed a couple times. I had no issue with Help Wanted 2.
Yeah, the optimization, I guess, still will learn how to optimize their games with time. The worst point of this game was its marketing. It basically was a surprise for everyone that this game is coming out. Well, I can't say that it failed on sales, but it was pretty mediocre. So probably that's why Help Wanted 2 never got a DLC, even if it was supposed to. So next game, I changed the order a little bit. So 5 Labs. 5 Labs hasn't came out yet. It's only a demo, but I think, well, it's my bias again, because I never played Mario Kart, but I played another game that is similar, and it was on PC back in the days. And 5 Labs feels like this game. It's the game called Revolt. The mechanics were very similar, and the general idea is very similar. Yeah, again, Scott plays with different ideas when it comes to games, and I think this one has potential.
For some reason, I thought this was a fan game, not an official one. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know what to say. It did look pretty fun to play. I don't know how it's supposed to fit into the into the grand scheme of things. So it's obviously non-canon.
Well, maybe it's canon, maybe it's an in-universe game.
Again, to me, it feels like yet another random experiment, which is, it's cool that Scott branches out, but I have no opinion, honestly. Like, okay.
Well, okay, so the place on the tier list is behind my decision then. I think I'm gonna place it like right behind Security Breach.
I have a hard time thinking of this one as a actual FNAF game, so I don't know, like, it seems fun. I don't really care either way.
Okay, next two games we have, and I placed them like this for a reason. So first, Into the Pit. Into the Pit is one of the best games in this franchise.
I was genuinely impressed. When you gifted this one to me, I went in without any expectations. I was like, okay, I mean, it looks pretty cool with the pixel art and everything. But I was actually legitimately impressed by how well put and just honestly enjoyable this game was. In my opinion, you said it yourself, it's one of the best ones in the series. Again, in my opinion, but yeah, I would honestly put it in S tier because I honestly can't say anything bad about it. Like, for what it is, it's got pretty solid story. We have a protagonist whose motivations and actions are understandable, who is also an absolute gigachat who fucking punches the animatronic not even once. It's a solid game all around. Honestly, I don't actually
And
think
I remember
have
you
a lot.
said that it's the most finished one.
Yeah, the thing that really makes me also like this one is that it feels perfect for what it is. I wouldn't take anything away from it, and I wouldn't add anything to it. As it is, in my opinion, it's exactly as long and as deep as it needs to be.
Yeah, and about the story, I placed it near The Secret of the Mimic because Into the Pit is the best adaptation of the book that the game can do. It's basically the story from the book, but it was just stretched out to 5 nights. No changes, well, some changes, but they don't affect anything basically. The characters are the same, the premise is the same, the location is the same, everything is the same. It's easy as. Why the fuck is Ruin so low?
I do remember there were like one or two times when I was a bit lost as to what to do. But in general, like, it wasn't a huge issue. There were just like a couple moments when
Yeah, there was a few moments where you kinda, you know what to do, but you have to go into the past or into the future, and you don't know that you actually need to go there.
yeah, like the game had a couple moments where, in my opinion, it could use a bit more signposting. But again, that's a minor criticism, and it's not a huge game. It isn't Pizzaplex where if you don't know what to do, then okay, well, fuck you, see you in 10,000 years. Comes down to it, you can just wander around, and you will find your way pretty soon anyway. I'm actually really excited to see more games from the studio if they make another one.
Well, I sure hope they're working on Fetch right now. What's the point of this see you in the end? It's kind of an obvious hint. Do you see it? Do you see it?
I know who doesn't see it.
No, she's not
Never
here.
mind. But
Again. Okay, I will let Pizza Daffy talk for a bit.
The Mimic is the prime reason why the Glamrocks and all that jazz are malfunctioning, right? Makes sense. He's the prime reason why the series is malfunctioning. Get this guy out of here. Get him out. Fucking bring back Burn Trap. Bring goddamn William Afton back. He has no motive, no goal, nothing. This guy here, this one machine here is by far the worst thing to come into the series. I don't care what anyone says. He should have been left in the goddamn books. He should have stayed there. His own game sucks. His own story and his own game sucks. His reveal and ruin sucks. His chase sequence sucks. Ugh, I'm on a goddamn tangent here. Yeah, he's a fucking clunker. Fuck him. He's a clunker.
Okay, that was a bit too much, but you get the point. Some points I disagree, but after Secret of the Mimic, I kinda agree that it would have been better if Mimic stayed in the books, because what's the point of making the origins of the characters in the books and not following that at all? Here we go from Into the Pit, which is the best adaptation that can ever be, and Secret of the Mimic, which is the worst adaptation that can ever be. None of the characters are the same, the story is not the same, the overall story of the franchise is not the same, the game tries to push the Mimic and the Murrays into the old games and it affects the lore of the old games. Well, what's the point? Like, what's the point of creating tales at all? Why are you trying to retroactively shove the Mimic into the story that wasn't built for that? Why are you doing all this Pizzeria prototype, sister location bonker and FNAF 4 house shenanigans? In Tales, Edwin was simply making several costumes for Fazbear, and then his small warehouse goes to them, and it was simply implied that maybe, just maybe, Mimic could have been exposed to some old events. The entire beauty of the story of Aftons and the story of the Mimic was that these two stories were connected very loosely. If you wanted the new stuff, you engaged with the new stuff. If you didn't like the new stuff, then you didn't have to engage with the new stuff. They were not affecting each other in any significant way. Tales was leaving it up to interpretation. Now at this rate, we will have Mimic David, Mimic doing the bite of 83, the bite of 87, David being raised by William, Fiona being killed by William, Gregory being the reincarnation of David, and whatever the fuck. One game has somehow achieved to put a big chunk of lore under a question mark, shove one story into another story, change several important characters to the point that they are unrecognizable, and gave birth to a wave of the worst FNAF theories I've ever seen. And that's not it, because considering that Secret of the Mimic is somehow important for the future, I'm sure it will ruin even more. Okay, let's talk about the game itself, without the story. You start.
I would argue that it's a pretty solid game, but and this might sound a little strange, and I said this during, when we played through it. There is too much of gameplay. This will sound paradoxical, but like the gameplay itself is pretty solid, and the game itself, it runs well, it's competently made, but it's also quite simplistic and kind of bare bones. Like, it's basically like Outlast, essentially, but it presents itself as as if it was Alien Isolation. Supposedly you have this one terrifying enemy who stalks you through the whole game, but you don't really feel it most of the time.
Yeah,
like,
he's not really dangerous.
Yeah, he's not dangerous at all. His AI is incredibly simplistic. He can't really do a lot of basic stuff like entering vents. But the game does have a pretty cool style to it. I mean, Stillwell knows how to make a fun, like, entertainment place. I don't know. I think it's a 7 out of 10 game. In general, it is pretty entertaining, and the chase scenes are, in my opinion, very well put together and fun. But also, a lot of the game is spent just looking for, I don't know, like items that you need to progress while avoiding the Mimic. And the Mimic is kind of, he can't really do anything to you. The game is pretty fun, but also too bare bones for how much there is of it. I would put it in B tier.
Well, as I said, the things this game does to the story, like to the story of Tales, to the characters of Tales, to the story of original games, basically affects every other game in the franchise. I can't say much good about this game. Like, I can say that OST was very good. And probably the coolest part was the Ride to Dimension, because it has a lot of Half-Life 1 vibes. But that's kinda it. This game was probably the biggest disappointment of this year for me. Probably of past 3 years. So I'm just not touching it again.
Well, I suppose is a difference of expectations, because I had none. I actually, fully expected it to be not great, because there honestly wasn't a lot of gameplay material before it released. And when it came out, yeah, I mean, it has its flaws. It's not a perfect game by any means, but I don't know. I think it's pretty decent for what it is.
Well,
But
as a
evidently,
game,
you are a lot more.
I can say that as a game, it's decent. It's definitely an improvement from Security Breach, let's say. But the story is kind of main thing that I am here for, and well, the story basically overrides everything else. So I'm just not touching it again. Not touching a game doesn't mean that the game is necessarily bad, it's just that I'm not touching it again.
That's fair, but at the same time, I would, point out that, at least in my opinion, the overall storyline and the plot of the series gets butchered every other installment. Like, in my opinion, whatever Scott is into in the moment gets introduced into the new game, the new story, and with no consideration for how it fits into the overarching image. At least that's how I see it.
Well, I guess it was the case for the main 6 games. Well, at least between 3 and 4 and 5. Well, you can see that Scott kinda tries a lot of things, and with the story as well. But I think the story, like, from the point of Helpwanted 1 to the point of Ruin, and together with Tales, it was pretty solid, even if it has questions. But these questions were due to Security Breach being a mess in development, and not because Security Breach was necessarily a bad idea.
Perhaps, but again, a controversial opinion. I'll probably get some hate for this, but the story of FNAF always felt to me like convoluted nonsense. Like, I don't know, it could be written by From Software for all I care, because it's somewhere on the same level, at least in my opinion. On the subject of visuals, I will say that while the game had a lot of cool areas, it also had a lot of the warehouses and, just near identical rooms.
Kinda generic rooms, let's say.
Yes.
Not in the sense of being generic by looking at it, but being generic when comparing to each other. They kinda...
I mean, you don't really have to excuse it, because, the bricked, like hallways with occasional pipes is not exactly.
Well, it's cool for the first minute.
Not well designed.
It's cool for the first minute.
Yeah, it feels like some areas got more attention than others, but in practice, it's actually more of a case that a lot of the game takes place in these service areas, so it makes sense, logic-wise, for them to be fairly similar and not stand out. But I feel like it's not the strongest point of the game, because the areas that are actually well designed, be it offices or those entertainment rooms, in my opinion, those were actually really cool. But the service and the service hallways, the warehouses.
Unfortunately, the service hallway were for the most part of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, they could be placed in a different game, and I wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, I guess that's where the comparison with Poppy Playtime comes in, but we are not gonna touch that. Actually, another point, well, not really a point, just an opinion. Pizza Duffy said that Mimic should have stayed in the books and we should bring back William Afton, but I will say even better. Don't bring back William Afton, let Mimic stay in the book, bring back Eleanor. That's it. Okay, finally moving on from this thing, let it be not touched again ever. Tales from the Pizzaplex. Well, now that's my jam. As I said, it's a mixed bag. It has a lot of stories, but only half of them take action actually in the Pizzaplex. Some of the stories just mention the Pizzaplex. Some of the stories, I think, don't have animatronics in it. Definitely you can cut half of the series and not much will change. But overall I think it was an important addition, because without Tales we wouldn't have context for Security Breach. And this is the main thing that annoys me about Secret of the Mimic, because if one of the stories from Tales from the Pizzaplex is not canon, who's to say that others are canon? And this means that if none of it is canon, then we don't have the history before security breach, which kind of like, why even make it in the first place? Of course, you could say that it's just secondary canon, and I would have loved that idea until the main canon of Secret of the Mimic decided to overwrite the entire story of the Mimic. I will place it in B. It has some important and cool stories, and we are gonna get to them right now, but there was a lot of filler. Okay, next, the storyteller. Well, the storyteller by itself, I guess it's A, because it gives the context why animatronics behave the way they are in Security Breach for most of the time. And this story also gave a redemption to Edwin. He made a mistake with the Mimic, and in the storyteller he tried to redeem himself, which I can't say for Edwin in Secret of the Mimic. But maybe in Secret of the Mimic Edwin will survive and will redeem himself later, but we'll see. Yeah, I think A. While the storyteller is kinda important for Glamrocks, it's not really important to the overall plot because Glitch Trap exists, and it's kinda strange to have the storyteller and Glitch Trap in the same timeline. Now, GGY. Your favorite character Gregory has a backstory. A backstory how he was serving Glitch Trap. And I think it was a very good book. But I wish Scott didn't forget that Gregory was GGY, because after this story, it's never even mentioned anywhere in the series that Gregory was GGY. Like, I understand why in Security Breach he doesn't remember stuff, but why later he never mentioned in any novels, it's beyond me, and that's why a lot of people perceive Gregory as an evil being, because he's doing evil things, but it's never said that he's GGY. Everyone kinda thinks that it's Gregory himself. The story would be somewhere here, I think. It's better than the storyteller, but not by much. Ты что нам сказать пытался?
Да мне особо сказать-то нечего, потому что Грегори не нужна бэкстори, он уже и так идеальный персонаж в вакууме.
The Mimic. Oh, that's pain. This is the story Secret of the Mimic replaced. And I know that it's kinda... someone maybe likes SOTM more, someone likes the Mimic more, but I think this story fits better with the narrative Security Breach, Ruin and other tales established. So not much to say, the story was solid, very solid. I don't see any reason why it should be replaced. Characters were likable or understandable. Edwin was much more epic than the pathetic loser he is in SOTM. The story was quite grounded in reality, as much as FNAF story can be, and wasn't pushing the established boundaries. It could have been improved without changing anything important, and it could have been the same situation as it was with Into the Pit. Next, interactive novels. VIP was a mixed bag, mostly because it's kinda pointless, but at the same time, as a fan of Glamrocks, it was entertaining, and it gave some lore to Monty, to Roxy, to Bonnie, but other than that, it's kinda feels out of place. Like, it feels like it's a different Pizzaplex, even if it's not. But it's mainly because the layout of the Pizzaplex, I guess, was changing between years. VIP is based at the start of the Pizzaplex, so the Pizzaplex looked different. I think this story could have been better, but yeah, it's B. It's kinda forgettable. Now, the week before. This is S. Not S, but S. This is basically a backstory of the phone guy before FNAF 1, and this is the only novel that is actually stated to be canon. And I read it not long time ago. It is a very good interactive novel, and the phone guy is probably the best, well, not the best, but one of the best human characters. Before that he was Enigma. Some theories were like the phone guy might be like a second killer, after William Afton, or maybe his helper, or maybe phone guy is William Afton. But after this, he is just a fun boy of Fazbear Entertainment who worked there and who was trying to close eyes to everything Fazbear Entertainment has done. He was really humanizing the animatronics without knowing that there were souls inside them, and was also trying hard to be a good father, which makes it more tragic that he didn't survive. So yeah, this was absolutely peak. Well, Escape the Pizzaplex is not good. It was like a security breach of interactive novels. It is a lot of wasted potential. This story could give us some context to how Gregory got rid of glitch trap inside his head. It could give us some context to how Bonnie disappeared. It could give us more Vanny. But at the end, it kinda gave us a bit of Roxy and Cassie doing things, and a bit of Monty, that's it. And again, this story doesn't mention that Gregory is GGY, so those who read it think that Gregory is an evil asshole, which he is, but not that much. Also, it wasn't very interactive. I can't really place it in D, but I guess... yeah, wasted potential. That's basically it. Now, to the most recent events. First, FNAF Movie 1.
I liked it, even though if if you had no context for what FNAF is, then I don't think you would like it, which in my opinion is the reason why it has such a low score amongst critics, while having a... By critics I mean
Professional critics.
Yes, so-called professional critics, while maintaining a pretty high score amongst the viewers. In my opinion, it's a pretty fun watch. I still maintain the story is different from the games. I'm still not entirely sure how much sense it really makes. To me, it feels whatever. But I will say that it has very good visuals. The animatronics are actually really cool. And I think the actors are also pretty great across the board.
You mean the casting
obviously,
or the acting? Or both?
I would say both. I actually pretty much liked all of the actors. Obviously William Afton is absolutely stellar, but I also think our protagonist and Vanessa and that girl that causes all the trouble. Yeah, I think they're all very well played, and the movie has cool visuals, and as a sort of, I guess, how do I put this, a fan service type deal for the fans, I think it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the same. And if you are talking about adaptations, well, first, I think it was said that FNAF Movie is a different universe, which is different from Tales because it wasn't said that Tales is different universe. But if you are talking about adaptations, if Into the Pit is a very faithful adaptation and Secret of the Mimic is not a faithful adaptation, the movie is kinda in between them. The characters of Vanessa and William were faithful adaptations of their game counterparts. And the main premise is very similar to the games with its ideas. The animatronics were shown very similar to how they are shown in the week before, and Mike was a great substitute to Michael Afton with a similar trauma. It's a shame that this trend was forgotten in the next movie. So yeah, I think without context, it's better than FNAF 2 without context. So I guess, what's it gonna be? A+?
I don't know, I feel like A+ might be a bit high because, first of all, I don't think it's a very good horror movie. I didn't find it scary or tense at all. In my opinion, the pacing is kind of all over the place. And I actually like the story less than I liked the story in the games. Even though I do consider both to be kind of a convoluted mess, I do believe that in some ways it's too on the nose with all of these like dream visions that the protagonist has. I would put it, I guess, in A-, something like that.
Okay, but I would put it in like high A+, so I will put it like here, at lower A+. And now to the FNAF 2 movie. And oh well, that's a controversial topic.
Should I begin or?
Да.
I actually liked it. Yeah, I mean, it had its like questionable moments, but again, like I treat the movies as a basically fan service for those who just want to see more animatronics. And actually, I should have said this when we talked about the first movie, but I mean, it applies to both. Well, I did say that it has cool visuals, but I probably should have emphasized that the locations, they actually feel like,
It actually
real.
feels like 2000s.
Yes, and they do feel like places that you could potentially visit here, like entertainment establishments. And once again, the animatronics are very well done. The story, once again, didn't make much sense to me. Actually, I think it made less sense than the first one.
Yeah.
Also, it did kind of butcher some of the characters. Like, for some reason, Michael is now this creepy psycho, and Charlotte, what is it?
Чарли.
Char-
Это, по-моему, одно и то же имя.
Yeah. Charlie is also flat out insane. Also, the little girl is still annoying, as she was in the first one.
And I think some acting was a bit worse than in the first movie.
Well, I haven't actually noticed this, but maybe.
You weren't paying attention to acting.
No, I mean, I thought it was pretty good again, but I don't know, maybe I missed something. I will say that what I really don't like is how abruptly it ended, because it feels like half a movie than, like a finished movie.
Yeah.
I understand that it's a setup for the third installment, but if it never comes, then it'll just be lame.
Well, I think it will come because, you saw how much money it made. So I think the pacing was, at least in the middle of the movie, was even worse than in the first movie. But I guess the start and the finish were cool. Well, with the exception of the ending itself. Some characters, yes, Michael and Charlie were mischaracterized, but also some animatronics got almost no screen time. Especially withered animatronics, who were in every promo material, and they appear for 1 minute when Mike is in the office hacking the system.
As far as plot is concerned, there were a couple of moments when I also just raised an eyebrow at the protagonist's behavior, like, when our Mike, what was it again, like he asked, I think, Vanessa, why didn't she mention Charlie or whatever?
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? You already knew that William was a serial killer.
Overall, I think I liked the first movie more, simply because I don't like when we are jumping from one place to another very fast. And also, I think the second movie does a poor job at... Have you watched Star Wars?
Yes, but which ones? Because I watched the original trilogy, the prequel, and...
the original and the prequel.
Yeah, I watched both.
I think watching FNAF movies is basically like, imagine watching Star Wars starting from the second half of episode 2. If you never knew what FNAF is, you don't have context what is happening, but looks cool, yeah, fun, even great, but I don't really know what is going on. That's basically what it will be.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. The movies don't really do a good job of actually establishing the existing lore and the ongoing story, and they tend to just kind of kick off from what feels like an ongoing story.
Yeah. When it's not true. Well, it kinda uses the same ideas but spins them differently.
Like this could be, well, it's definitely not great either way, but it could be acceptable if you know, the movies were faithful to the plot of the games, but it's a completely separate story, so you actually have literally no context. Like playing the games doesn't really help you much in this regard.
Mm-hmm. Also, like you said, doesn't feel like a horror. I think FNAF 1, well, the movie, feels more like a horror than FNAF 2, simply because it's slower, so it kinda has more time to build tension, even if the payoff kinda not scary, but like the build up is still there. While the second movie kinda jumps, kinda like the fifth night in every game.
I suppose you could argue that the first, like, it follows the, you know, Alien formula. Like the original movie is more of this slow-paced horror, and the second one is much more action-based.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But it's written by Scott.
Yeah.
So I guess it's...
I do believe actually, you know, this is pretty interesting because I actually feel like as far as adapting existing stories to different media, the developer of Into the Pit seems to be much better at it than the original creator himself. It feels like, I mean, I said this before, that in my opinion, the issue, one of the like big problems of Scott is the lack of consistency. This means that every next installment, even if it's effectively, you know, an adaptation of a previous one, is completely different from, you know, well, the previous one. Basically, again, like, might be a hot take, but I just don't think that Scott is a very good writer. I think he is amazing at creating atmosphere, creating art, but as a writer, I don't know, like, I'm not impressed. Honestly.
It's not really a hot take. It's a pretty popular opinion. So I guess FNAF, the second movie, like, at some places it's better, but I guess I will place it behind Security Breach, well, behind the first movie, but pretty close. And I guess that's that. I think we didn't miss much. Like, there was a game, Freddy In Space 3, but it was a mini game before the first movie came out. It was a promotional material mostly. And we skipped Fazbear Frights and Silver Eyes Trilogy, but who cares? Man, D tier is kinda empty.
I think you could unmake Cool Skins tier and kick, you know, the mobile game in D tier, because it's a mobile game, it has microtransactions, and it's fucking dead.
Well, fine. The voices in my head. Well, that's that.